Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that we may serve you in ways that glorify your name. We ask that we may be open always to where you are calling us. We ask that we may always draw on your grace and your strength to do what you call us to do. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Today we have a alternative reading, which you probably won't hear at Mass today. It's actually like, if you want to list all the readings that you can read for Mass today, it's way down. So you probably won't hear it, but I definitely wanted to discuss it with you. It's from 1 Peter 5, and it's actually verses 1 through 4. And what it says is Peter is writing that he exhorts the presbyters, which is the priests among you, as a fellow presbyter. So that could also mean bishops, by the way, because Peter was obviously a bishop, and witness to the sufferings of Christ. So he is speaking there as one who witnessed Christ's sufferings, but he's also speaking to presbyters who most likely did not. And also he is saying, and one who has a share in the glory to be revealed. So he's also understanding his future and the whole mission of what he is all about. But here's the important part. He says, tend the flock of God in your midst, overseeing, not by constraint, but willingly, as God would have it, not for shameful profit, but eagerly. Now, it's important to understand this theme has popped up in the readings this week, and it pops up in the readings a lot. We see it more in the gospel, where Jesus is saying not to follow the law because it's the law, but follow the law because it leads us to do what is right to others. And if the law leads us not to do what is right to others, then that means you have the permission to go around the law. Now, what do I mean by that? Because that can be taken the wrong way. So let me put it to you this way. I talked about it before. If you're on your way to Mass, and you have to be at Mass because it's Sunday and that is your duty, but at the same time, you walk by someone who has fallen, they've broken a leg, they need to be tended to. The law says you have to be at Mass, but not in this case, because that's when Jesus says, your rule is serving another as a person in need oversees the Mass, unless you can go to Mass later on. But you can't go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Say, well, then I'm not going to go to Mass ever. I'm just going to do good things. No. But I'm talking about that individual case. So we're talking about always seeking to do the right thing. So what is tending the flock of God by constraint, which you're called not to do? Is, well, I have to follow the rule. I don't want to. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I don't want anything to do with this. But I have to, because if I don't, I'm going to end up in hell. That's doing it by constraint. And no one who does that has the vision of God. Not saying that there are a lot of people that do, but no one who does that has the vision of God, has the vision of serving others. They're probably going to be extremely grouchy. They're probably going to be really irritable, and they're probably someone you don't want to deal with. And that happens occasionally. You hear those stories, mostly in the past, but that is not what anyone is called to do. Everything we have to do is not by the law, but by love of God, love of neighbor. That's what we're called to do. So if we're doing things by constraint, we're doing things because we have to, and if we don't, we're afraid we're going to end up in hell. Peter is talking to the people who are leaders, but that goes across the board. That absolutely goes across the board. We're all called as Catholics right across the board to do things out of love of God and neighbor. That could mean even completely, totally different, not having anything to do with church, but what you do in your job, how you serve others in your job, how you treat others, how you are supposed to help others. All of that, if you are doing it because this is the rule, this is what we have to do, and we have to do it this way, and that's it, and if we don't, that's not going to help anybody. But if we are doing it as a way of being kind or right to others, then that's going to help a lot of people. Let me give you a great example. It has nothing to do with church at all, but the person who makes it in customer service is the one who's going to make someone feel that they are happy that they spoke to you, and you're going to be successful in customer service, for example, if you have me in that. If you're treating that person as Christ would want you to do within the context of the company rules. That's what you're called to do. Now, let's translate that also into people having questions about maybe rules within the Catholic Church, or why does the Catholic Church do something? If your response is, and I've seen this, this is the rule and you have to follow the rule, then that's not going to help anybody. It's like maybe you're going to return a toaster to Joe's Toaster Emporium or something like that, and you return the toaster, and maybe you can tell I'm a writer. I can come up with all these scenarios right away, and maybe the receipt got ripped, and the person looks at you and say, "I don't care. This receipt is ripped. I'm not going to take back that toaster, and don't you come back here again, and I'll see you later." Well, that actually you're going to get the wish. The person's never going to walk into Joe's Toaster Emporium again because they're going to be treated so poorly. Actually, something like that happened at a customer service booth at a supermarket. This was back a while ago, but I'll never forget I needed to cash a check. And this is back when they did cash checks at local supermarkets. And it really didn't go well. I'll talk about it on the other side of the break and relate it to our gospel reading. So we are not our first reading here from Peter, and we'll be able to understand it from a perspective. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. We're happy you're here. We're happy you're listening. If it's your first time, or if it's you're coming back as a regular listener, thank you for being here. And let people know what you're listening to and how you found us and where to find us, so that more people can hear the message that has attracted you. We'll be right back right after this. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can check out our website, check out the archives of the show. You can connect to our parish, another website for it if you want, but you can go right through CatholicAudiomedia.com or STAnthonyAlston.org, STAnthonyAlston.org. You can check out our Substack newsletter. You can check out the blog. You can check out all kinds of things over there at CatholicAudiomedia.com. Don't forget, you can send us input for a homily. You can also send us feedback. And if you'd like to donate to the show, that's so important because it is St. Anthony Parish that supports this program. So if you donate to the show, that makes it easier for the parish. So please consider that. St. Anthony Parish supports the show, and you can click on the donate tab and different ways to donate, including if you'd like to just send a check through the mail. That address is there, 43 Holton Street in Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. So anyway, we're talking about this powerful message, and I was going to give you an example from a supermarket. So anyway, I'm going to go cash a check at the supermarket. Now, this is back in the 80s. And I hand the check to the person behind the customer service booth, and she literally slams the check back to me and says, "First of all, we don't cash personal checks." And it actually wasn't. I think it was a business check, but the way it was written, it was from a church. And that's the way she spoke to me. And I asked for the manager to come, and the manager came, and he looked at it and says, "Well, we'll let you cash this, but then next time go to a bank." And I thought to myself, said, "No, next time I'm going to go to the competing supermarket." And I don't think I ever walked into that particular supermarket again, but strangely enough, true story, I went to another branch of the supermarket later, several years later, and it was something, well, I had to go, so I walked in there. And two of the cashiers were literally fighting in the aisles. It was like a scene from Airplane. And they were fighting in the aisles, and then all of a sudden they stopped fighting, and then I'm the next customer they're going to take in. Because when I'm finished with this guy here, and she just goes through. Well, I got home, and I called that company. And I said, you know, I really hate your company. And this is the reason why. And I told him that story. I got an apology and everything else. But I want you to look at that. Now, translate that into the church. The person who treats someone rudely. Well, I want to tell you, what are you doing here? Oh, wow, you know, or for whatever reason. The person who treats another person rudely, even if they are a priest or a deacon or a nun or whatever, well, I'm going to tell you. And how about there's the whole thing of people fighting in the parking lot. You know, if they believe in God until they get out into the parking lot and they start fighting. Well, you know, these people see these things. And that's what St. Peter is talking about, to have that vision. Now, you know, we've all been in positions where we've had our bad days and our bad moods and everything else. But you can see there is a real effect to that. Fulton Sheen, Archbishop Fulton Sheen, servant of God, talked about the story of a priest who screamed at an altar server because he dropped, at that point he would call it an altar boy, dropped a cruet that broke, it had the wine, it broke, and screamed at him, and the altar boy walked out, never walked into church again. Whatever happened to that altar boy, he became the dictator of Yugoslavia. If you remember, that was Tito. He became the dictator of Yugoslavia. You can see that when we allow our humanness to come across, we can hurt a lot of people, and that's what St. Peter is talking about. And don't do something because that's the rule. Don't be screaming at someone says, the rule says, you know what that says? Don't. You know, you have to work things as you would a customer service agent who didn't work for that supermarket company, by the way, whose name I will not mention. But you can see that, you know, someone who understands that we're always bringing the message. Do you know something people don't know? They'll talk about, you know, these people out there want to be pastoral. They, instead of following the rules, they want to be pastoral. Well, that's what the saints said. The saints always said when you had to correct someone, when you had to speak to someone, when you had to teach something, always do it as a pastor, as a, what do they call him? A shepherd speaks to his flock, or treats his flock is a better way of doing it. That's what they always said. You had to do it that way. And that's what St. Peter is saying. Don't do it under constraint. You better follow the rule and be this nasty person because you're doing nothing more than following the rule. Have that vision of living the gospel and being able to talk to people pastorally and being able to talk to people in a way they understand the gospel. Now, go back to that customer service thing. What if the person was just nice to me and said, gee, we really can't cash this, but I'll check with my manager? I'd probably be a regular customer. To this day, I'm not. Have a blessed day. In Cristo vivimos.